Yay! Alright, cool. I think I figured it out. Sorry for the technical issues, everyone. Welcome and welcome back to another episode of Ben is Sick and definitely working through it right now. In today's episode, we're actually going to be talking about alcohol and sports nutrition. It's a controversial topic, but I figured we might as well do it since the stupid Boston Celtics won the NBA championship. Not a big fan of that. Yeah, I wanted the Mavericks to win. I mean, everyone wanted the Mavericks to win. Nobody wanted Boston to win, except for Boston people, which I guess congratulations to you all. But, I mean, to have the best player on the court be from the opposite team, I mean, Luka, he's just absolute stats monster throughout the whole playoff series. So I hope you get it one day. I hope Dallas gets it one day because, you know, between the Cowboys and the Mavericks, it's gotta be. I feel like Dallas and Toronto are like this when it comes to sports, except for basketball, because, you know, the Raptors won 5 years ago. That was cool. The last real championship before COVID. So, yeah. Anyways, what's up, everyone? Like in the title, I'm a little bit sick. Or in the description, I'm a little bit sick today. And I am not feeling great. I'm feeling a lot better than I was yesterday, which is a good thing. But I definitely wanted to do a stream where I got to cook something a little bit easier on me that I really, really like. And that is Gamjatang. Gamjatang is a Korean pork bone soup and one of my favorite comfort meals. I bought the stuff over the weekend not realizing that it'd be a comfort meal today. And because I didn't plan to get sick, obviously, but I did plan to have some pork bone soup, so it works out really, really well. I'm going to make that in a little bit. The water's boiling so that I can blanch the bones and, get to work on that. But right now, let's talk a little bit about sports nutrition and alcohol. The reason why I bring this up is because a lot of people are out of school for the summer, and they're going to start drinking because a lot of my athletes are out of school and they're starting to, explore alcohol and all that kind of stuff. And I definitely want to talk a little bit on this stream about the effects of alcohol on sports nutrition and nutrition in general and what to do about it realistically, because one of the biggest things I always believe in, and I definitely have to say this at the beginning of this is not meant to be official nutrition recommendations or advice to anyone. You need to book a session with me in order to do that. But I am going to I'm going to start talking about general nutrition topics like nutrition and alcohol so that we can basically get on the same page about a few things. And people can watch from all over the world, access from all over the world and all that kind of stuff. And that would be really, really cool. So, alcohol and nutrition. Officially, the recommendation is you should not drink for your sports performance, right? You really, really shouldn't. And that is my official recommendation, by the way. Don't drink. It's just not good. I've had too much shit happen with alcohol in my life, as well as people that can't handle their alcohol. It's rough. So, alcohol's not good. Officially, I don't like drinking anymore. It is upsetting to my stomach. Ever since COVID happened to me, by the way, I've never really had the same relationship I had with alcohol prior to COVID. And the reason why is because I had long COVID symptoms, because I was the first wave of COVID, the wave that got really, really messed up. And I legit thought I was going to die. I really, really did. It certainly felt like that. And after that, and immediately after that, I tried to have a drink to celebrate not having COVID anymore while in lockdown. And immediately my liver was like feeling like it was tearing itself apart from the inside. Didn't like that feeling. So I stopped drinking for like 6 months, and then I was pressured into drinking again by someone. Didn't love that. That's why we're broken up. And she made such a big deal out of it. Well, I mean, she has her substance abuse issues and all that kind of stuff, and I've had my history with substance abuse as well, particularly with alcohol. And I'm rambling right now. I get it, but that's why I don't drink anymore. So this advice is coming from a theoretical place, but from a person, an athlete, former triathlete that used to drink and train at the same time. A lot of this is personal experience. A lot of this is theoretical in the sense where when I counsel with my clients, I tell them certain things about alcohol. I tell them how to have a better relationship with it and all that kind of stuff. And when is more opportunistic to drink than not. The official recommendation is still do not drink because it would affect your athletic gains. We'll talk about why that is in a little bit. But I'm a realist, right? I approach topics with a risk reduction standpoint. It's very easy to tell people just don't drink. But practically that's not going to happen for multiple different reasons. So practically, from a risk reduction standpoint, I meet clients where they're at, right? Whether they be, just the socialite that has a few drinks at a party, whether or not they're varsity athletes that are just like really into the partying scene, whether or not they're like mid-30s and all that kind of stuff, trying to like get a control on their health and really just trying to figure out where alcohol is. This guy right here. Either way, it's not my place to judge or shame anyone. I don't think that has any benefit in regards to how nutrition is practiced and how information is relayed. So today, I'm just going to be real and talk about alcohol and nutrition and a couple different things you need to consider, specifically if you're an athlete going into the off season, like the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics are. There was definitely, because one of the biggest challenges in sports nutrition is obviously drinking's not good for your athletic performance for multiple different reasons, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I'm not going to pretend like every championship win isn't popping champagne bottles to celebrate. Unfortunately, alcohol is a part of the culture, right? Not just in sport, not just in basketball, but like literally every part of this culture, alcohol is really, really just kind of celebrated way too much. So drinking cultures are celebrated way too much and all that kind of stuff. So people are naturally going to be curious about that. And this stream is to talk about how to kind of manage your athleticism and alcohol intakes together and, everything like that from a realistic standpoint. So a lot of this is not official recommendations and all that kind of stuff. It is definitely do not drink. Drinking's no good. It's expensive too. Holy crap. I went out drinking a few weeks ago. Not drinking, but like, oh yeah, I'll have one or two drinks, which is like at my stage in life, like total reality. I can totally go like, oh yeah, I'll have a few drinks and I'm gonna go home because I don't want to stay out too late and I don't want to drink any more than I have to. But either way, getting back on this, athletes will drink, they will party, they will do all that kind of stuff, and it's hard because this summer, especially in Ontario, it feels like the first real summer since COVID. I know that sounds silly to a lot of people watching internationally or from smaller towns or anything like that, but like we got to remember, Toronto had like the most lockdowns. We had like lockdowns for like a year and a half straight, where there was no socialization, there was nothing like that. If you were good about it, and of course there's no summer patio thing. So a lot more of my clients this year have been working out. They've been working on their health goals and all that kind of stuff. But now they're tasked with the idea of like, oh, they're facing the sudden realization. Oh, it's summer. We used to drink a lot, and what do we do with that? What are the nutrition goals that come with that? So, this stream is to help meet people where they're at while I cook some Gamjatang and recover from this cold. The ironic thing too is Gamjatang is considered like a drunk food in Korea. So I thought that was pretty funny that everything overlapped so well. But either way, let's talk about alcohol. So alcohol has multiple effects. Obviously, hopefully, people are not drinking and doing sports competitively or seriously, right? There are definitely kind of sports that have like alcohol in them, like golf that you can drink through and all that kind of stuff. I can guarantee you this: if you're drinking on the golf course, you're not putting up your best game ever. It is just a casual kind of affair, and that's great. But you need to know how it affects you and all that kind of stuff. There are sports that can lean into that. So something like bowling, for example, it's more social sport. You can definitely lean into that. I've even seen like crazy events in like Australia happen where people would have to. I forget where this was, but like seeing if people in Australia would be pushing. This run, I think it was in Cairns. Can't remember where it was, but I was in Australia like a few years ago. And in Cairns, they have this kind of event where it's like kind of like a 10K with a swim. You would like start at the pub. You would, and it's for this famous Aussie guy. Like I preference it that way. You'd start at the pub. You'd scull back like a pint. You'd run like 5K to the end of the dock. You jump off the dock. You'd swim to, I think, an island, scull another beer, swim back, and then run back to the pub, and then drink another beer, and then that would be the winner. Absolutely crazy, absolutely fun. Kind of stuff, but of course that you're not putting up PBs and that kind of stuff, right? So there's a lot to be said about this, and it will absolutely affect your performance. The way that alcohol will affect your performance during is obviously you're intoxicated. If depending on how many you've had, your mobility is not so good. Your hand-eye coordination is not so good. All that kind of stuff that you would expect from alcohol is very, very difficult when it comes to adding coordinated sports in, right? So that's really not going to be helpful to you. But usually speaking, people drink alcohol after their... Oh, I'm going to put in the pork bone now. Because it's going to take a while, and so I'm going to talk about the effects of alcohol afterwards. So we know what it does during sport, which is not typically in the wheelhouse of consideration when we're talking about competitive sports. But after I put the pork bones in to blanch, then I will talk about what happens with alcohol after the sport, which is typically what happens when people think about alcohol and drinking and all that. So right now I've got my water boiling in the background, quite aggressively, I might add. And what we're going to do is we're just going to blanch these pork neck bones and in the water for about 5 minutes, get all the scum off, get all the blood off, rinse them, and then get the pork bone soup started. So we're just going to do that while I talk about alcohol. So into the pot these pork bones go. Awesome. Delicious. Amazing. Okay. So the pork bones are going to be in there for roughly 5 minutes, which should give me enough time to talk about the effects of alcohol after sport and recovery and all that kind of stuff, because that's usually where people have it, right? In the situation of the NBA Finals, and then most definitely the Stanley Cup. Like I don't see many people watching hockey anymore, but you better believe that after whoever wins the Stanley Cup, they're going to go drinking. They're going to be partying hard, popping champagne and all that kind of stuff. So let's figure out what needs to be done there. So in that kind of scenario, when you are drinking after a performance, a game, or a kind of workout, what you need to know is alcohol fundamentally negatively affects muscle protein synthesis and recovery. So it actually deactivates a lot of the muscle protein synthesis and prevents you from actually gaining and repairing your muscles properly after that, right? So depending on the event, depending on what you have scheduled, depending on all these different things, it's not advised to go drink afterwards, because your ability to repair your lean muscle mass is definitely impaired by alcohol. It actually turns off a lot of the recovery mechanisms, and just like, because, well, I mean, alcohol is interpreted as a poison in your body, right? So your liver's working overtime to affect or decrease the impact of what it's actually doing to you. So what ends up happening is, athletically, it prioritizes that function. It prioritizes everything for the liver to be like, hey, this dummy is drinking alcohol again. So you kind of need to take care of that. Sorry, I'm not feeling well today. Again, I'm sick. Tail end of a cold. It is what it is. So with that being said, what you need to know that after, like, let's say hard workouts, it will impair your ability to recover. So depending on what you have scheduled in your athletic plans or whatever, you might want to time this appropriately and keep as much distance away from your workout as possible for the drinking. So let's say you worked out in the morning, it was a hardcore leg workout, and you drank at night. That's going to impact you a lot less than going from the gym to the bar immediately, which is what some people do. It's insane. I've seen some people do that. It's absolutely cracked, absolutely insane, but it is what it is. Again, no judgment here. I just think it's wild that people would be like, oh, I want to go do a workout and then drink immediately afterwards. But that being said, I'll run marathons and have a few drinks afterwards, but that's because, A, I'm not training anymore. I'm training all, like, for a few months in order to get that victory beer. That victory beer is the sweetest thing in the world after a marathon, but it definitely will impair my ability to recover properly. So keep that in mind. So if you're looking to build lean muscle mass or anything like that, you need to know that it's actually going to negatively affect your ability to build lean muscle mass for that kind of thing. So alcohol is not recommended whatsoever for multiple reasons. That being said, practically speaking, if you did your workout early in the morning and then drank later on that night, so let's say you had a Friday morning workout and then you were going to go party at nighttime, that's going to have a less of an impact as long as your nutrition is good throughout the day. So go check out my post-workout recovery stream in order to figure out what that looks like for you. But the alcohol has less of an impact on your muscle protein synthesis. It still will have some because your body does the most building and repairing of lean muscle mass overnight, but it has a lower level of impact. Again, this is risk reduction, right? In regards to your muscle recovery and all that kind of stuff. What you need to know is if you do that, then what you're risking is the ability to sleep properly that night too, because alcohol is a central nervous system stimulant, and what that means is your body could be asleep, but your mind's racing. You're not having good quality sleep. So that's obviously a big problem. Depending on what you're trying to do, what you have to do the next day. If you're, for example, partying Friday night and have a workout Saturday morning, no bueno, no good of a decision there. But I mean, hey, you do what you do, right? So in that situation where you are drinking and you have a workout afterwards, I'd be like, okay, drink less. Try to chase it down with some waters, go 1-to-1 with waters and all that kind of stuff. Hydrate, but also have a lot of salty, fatty snacks, because what that will do is rehydrate you well. One of the biggest mistakes when people drink is that they'll only drink water to rehydrate, right? What ends up happening is that when you do that, you're actually diluting the body's electrolytes much more, because when you're drinking, you lose a lot of hydration through the increased heart rate, the increased breathing, the increased sweating, all that kind of stuff, and the increased urination, because alcohol is a diuretic. So it'll make you pee more. So if you're drinking, if you're peeing out all those electrolytes and you're not intaking any electrolytes, you're just going to make the hangover worse or the drunkenness worse, because now you're diluting the amount of electrolytes you have by adding water in without any salt. So Definitely have some salty, fatty snacks while you're drinking to kind of balance all that kind of stuff along with the alcohol. And then try to have some water and another salty snack before you go to bed to help you recover a little bit better from the night out of drinking. Now, that being said, we get into the territory. Hold on one second. I'm going to take the bones out because I think it's been 5 minutes. So, the bones are now aggressively boiling in the water. So, again, what that's going to do is kind of get rid of a lot of the scum and a lot of the stuff that we don't want in the pork bone. And what I'm going to do right now is basically 2 minutes from now, I'm just going to strain the pork bones in the liquid. And then, because that's trash water, we don't need that. And then we're going to put it in the other pot that I have. That's a nice big pot. And we are going to put cold water in and bring that up to a boil so that it can start cooking along with the vegetables that I have for it and all that kind of stuff. So this is good enough. That's nice and boiled. I'm going to take this now and I'm going to pour this out in the sink. So I'm going to move this so you can see me do that. So I'm going to pour this out in the sink. Hold on, let me move this over here. Ah! Man down! Man down! Okay. We're better. Okay. So we're this way. I'm just going to pour this in the sink and then get back to talking about alcohol and sports nutrition. Ah! So much steam! Beautiful. Now, I'm just going to rinse the bones a little bit because I want to get any extra scum off the bones. That scum would be extra blood that the bones had or anything like that. These are fresh bones, so you don't need to do this too much. So, okay, that's good. So what we're going to do now is add the blanched bones into this new pot. And then what we're going to do is put cold water in here and start bringing this up to a boil while I chop vegetables and talk about nutrition with y'all. All right. That's a good amount of liquid. All right, so we're going to go bring this to the stove. Gonna put it on boil to like maximum and then we're gonna bring it down and I'm gonna start prepping everything to start chopping up the vegetables. And then we're gonna get back to talking about alcohol. Oh boy, I'm definitely not feeling great for this stream, so I apologize. But I definitely didn't want to cancel the stream either. So, I mean, it is what it is, right? I will recover. I will get better. Things will happen. Where's my peeler, bro? Do I have phantom people stealing my shit again? What's in here? Where are my oh, that's where my peeler is. Of course. Of course. So I will say, I'm supposed to be using green onions. I don't have any of those right now. Actually, no, I do. What am I talking about? I'll get those green onions in a little bit. Let's start chopping this up. So Gamjatang usually has potato in it. I gotta be honest with you, I don't like potato in Gamjatang. I think it's just... I just don't like potato in general, right? So what I'm actually going to do is use another starchy root vegetable with a little bit more flavor and a little bit more starch, which is a carrot, obviously, your humble carrot. So I'm going to just chop this up roughly. We don't need to do anything fine, but just rough chops. And we're going to put that directly into the soup. And a couple other things we're going to do is I'm going to cheat and use the rest of this kimchi and put it in. That's going to give it a lot of flavor. And then I'm going to mix up the paste later on. Hi Noah! Welcome to the stream. We're making Gamjatang. That is a Korean pork bone soup because it's one of my favorite comfort food meals, and I'm feeling a little bit sick right now. But thank you. Welcome to the chat, Noah. I hope you learned something today. Anyways, getting back to the topic at hand. I'm a little bit so what we are talking about, alcohol and sports nutrition. Okay, so now we have talked about the hydration strategy. So if you're going to drink, I strongly recommend you chase it with water so that you're hydrating, but also having electrolytes and salty snacks with it. So like chips, nuts, all that kind of stuff, really, really great because it's really good at hydrating. And I think it's really, really misunderstood what people are doing when they have some salty, fatty snacks and all that kind of stuff, right? If you have that, you're going to rehydrate a lot better because you're actively absorbing more electrolytes in and allowing your body to actually rehydrate properly instead of flushing out the extra sodium, which is what a lot of people do when they drink. Because again, you're losing a lot of water through increased heart rate, breathing, increased activity, flush. You might be sweating a little bit more. It might be really, really hot. I mean, it's hot right now. So if you're like patio drinking and all that kind of stuff, it could be really, really not good. No bueno for your hydration status. So keep that in mind. Another thing too is that before you go to bed, I typically advise people to have another salty fatty snack. My personal favorite snack before bed is a good old fashioned ramen noodle. And the reason why I like this so much is because I love ramen. Just love it. It's delicious. Can't really screw this up when you're drunk. When I was in Thailand, my buddy Tim and I, we were basically partying every single night, as people do in Thailand when they're young and in their 20s. And every single night, I'd have a cup noodle on the way home from the bars and all that kind of stuff. And he'd be like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm making sure I don't get a hangover the next, because I hate hangovers. I just friggin' hate them. It's a waste of the next day. So I would have that, and then he started doing it, and he started realizing, hey, my hangovers are like a lot less. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, it's kind of like I know what I'm talking about, like what are we doing here? Anyways, so having a salty fatty snack before you go to bed, and maybe a painkiller like an Advil, and a big glass of water. That was my routine. Like when I was younger and athletic, training for my marathons and like half marathons and triathlons, I would still go out and party. I would reduce it. I would be like, hey, mentally speaking, you're not going to commit to going hard tonight because you got to run 13 kilometers tomorrow morning, or you got to do a distance bike ride, or you got to do something like that. I know, I the way I'm saying it right now, it sounds wild, but that's what I used to do. It was a different life back then. Either way, my routine back then would be have water with the drinks, have a salty fatty snack ordered, like nachos with the drinks and all that kind of stuff. Go home, have a ramen with extra salt and all that kind of stuff. Rehydrate myself, and then have an Advil and go to bed, and then wake up in the morning and run 13 kilometers. Absolutely insane stuff. Absolutely cracked stuff. Don't recommend it. Don't recommend it. My training certainly suffered through that. Do not recommend it. But again, we're talking about risk management here. We're not talking about like, hey, abstinence only kind of recommendations. The studies show that that doesn't really work. So when we get down to it, yeah, it's starting to go. I'm a little lost today. I'm sorry. But either way, we're going to power through this. We're going to get on. Let's talk about impact of different alcohols. So there are, for better or worse, there are different levels of impact with the alcohol. And what we need to recognize is, first and foremost, we understood earlier on in this conversation, in this stream, we talked about how alcohol prevents the body from recovering properly from lean muscle mass damage, right? It also decreases your ability to be coordinated, hand-eye coordination, all that kind of stuff, reaction times, everything's slower. So, in that regard, you need to know that that's what's going to happen to you the next day. So if you're going to be like, oh, it's a skills practice on ice for hockey and you're doing a lot of stick handling, you're not going to perform well. Even though you're like, oh, I'm up, I'm good. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not good. So you need to know that there are different levels of impact with alcohol. So at the top, like the best ones, not that there is a best, we're talking about this in risk reduction terminology, right? Your hard alcohols and your wine end up being the easiest to recover from an athletic standpoint, because it's only introducing one level of inflammation in there coming from the alcohol itself. It's probably the worst, but it is there, and it allows you to not have to deal with multiple levels of inflammation. So at the top of the list would be liquor as well as wine, believe it or not. Even white wine, because carbohydrate content in white wine and wine in general is very, very low due to the fermentation process and all that kind of stuff. So they actually occupy the same tier list, S tier, if you will, from a low level of impact on your athleticism and your health goals. Again, making sure you hydrate, and again, this is not an official recommendation, right? The next tier down, you have your mixed drinks. You have your cocktails, you have your Smirnoff Ices, you have your rum and coke, you have rye and ginger, which is my drink that I like. You have all those kind of things. And the reason why that's the next tier down, that's going to impact you a little bit more than just straight liquor like a rye or a bourbon or a whiskey on the rocks. Not whiskey, not scotch on the rocks, ever. Don't ruin scotch like that. But if you have just like straight up whiskey and all that, it doesn't have the same amount of sugar that you're adding in. Because on those mixed drinks, not only you're adding sugar, but you're adding carbonation in, which is two different types of inflammation coming into your body. So with two levels of inflammation in your body, what that's going to do is it's going to stop the muscle protein synthesis as the alcohol does, but it's also going to put your body in like weight gain mode, if you will. It's going to gain a little bit of weight for you. So that makes everything a little bit more difficult for you, especially if you're in static sport, a weight class sport, or anything like that, where weight management is very, very appropriate. That might be something that you need to take into consideration. And at the very, very bottom of the list, the thing that's going to hurt you the most is actually beer. And the reason why is because you have three different types of inflammation coming in. You have the alcohol, you have the carbs, and you have the yeast coming in from the beer and all that kind of stuff. So we have to keep those in mind, that those different alcohols have different levels of impact. It just doesn't help that, like, usually my varsity athletes in those guys, they typically want to drink beer. I mean, it's shifting quite a bit. I see a lot of hockey bros drinking White Claws now, which is like, you know, occupies in my mind the second tier of like the level of damage of how bad it's going to be for you. So for what it's worth, keep that in mind. Okay, it's boiling, it's good. So keep that in mind. It is, you know, obviously a problem and all that. So that's the tier list. It goes hard liquor and wine at the top. Then you have your mixed drinks, stuff like that. And then at the very, very bottom, the thing that's going to hurt you the most is going to be beer. Yeah, that's just the harsh reality of it. So it will negatively impact your performance. Now, that being said, we always have to take into context how it's going to impact your performance and at what stage of your training you're going to be in, right? I always divide up training into 3 separate categories depending on what sport you're having. The first category is always going to be like your base level training and all that kind of stuff, the stuff that keeps you generically fit, kind of like your off-season training, so to speak. And then level 2 is your on-season training, like you're really, really pushing, you're really doing all the skills work, the technical, the strength and conditioning, everything's coming together. And then part 3 is like before the performance, before the actual game, before the actual event, right? So for runners and marathon runners and triathletes, it gets divided up into, okay, the first phase of your training, you're putting in just general kind of base level fitness, working on all that kind of stuff. It doesn't get that intense yet. The second stage is where you start, for marathon runners, for example, you're starting to add hills into the training mix. You're starting to do, you're starting to do track work. You're starting to do speed work, all those kind of specialized training kind of things that are high intensity, which are typically at night, by the way. That is going to have a negative impact on you. And then act 3 or stage 3 is like pre-performance level kind of stuff. So if we're talking about levels of impact for alcohol, I wouldn't say successfully, because that's not the right word that I want to use. But it is in part 1 of your training, the base level training. It's going to have the least level of impact on your overall performance when it comes to the game day. However, it still will have that level of impact depending on what sport you're in. Keeping in mind that there's a lot of sports that are weight class, as well as weight class sports, and generally some athletes, for example, are looking to lose body fat percentage and condition themselves, and that traditionally happens in stage 1 of the training plans, right? So, for example, if you're put on a little bit more weight in the off season because you drank too much, or you let yourself go, or whatever, you just didn't keep up with the conditioning, then what we have to acknowledge is that you're going to have to put in a little bit of work getting your body back in the proper conditioning abilities to get back to what you were doing before. It's starting to boil, yay! So we're just going to turn that down a little bit from the boiling, and make sure. I think I put in a little bit too much water because I have this like chicken stock that I'm going to put in to give extra nutrition, because I made chicken stock over the weekend. And I'm definitely going to put that in, and it's going to be interesting because I definitely put in too much liquids for that. So either way, we do what we do. We live and we learn. Just going to put this in now. Yeah, so we're just going to cook that uncovered for a little bit. And then we're going to chop up our vegetables. Well, actually, it was just the carrot that kind of went in. We need this, and we're going to make our paste in a little bit. And then for the carb, traditionally this is served with rice. I'm not sure if I want to make rice tonight or if I just want to use the Korean rice cakes and just like have Gamjatang like that. So, that's being said, I'm just going to cut this up. So that's ultimately what you kind of need to know about alcohol and sport, is that it will have a negative impact on your gains. It will have a negative impact on your coordination. It will have a negative impact on that, but it's all within context, right? So if you're at the beginning of your training season and just kind of looking at it from a tapering off standpoint, then great. We're just going to start slowing down the alcohol intake, reducing you from the party scenes and all that kind of stuff, and generally moving towards a situation where you're recognizing that during phase 2 of your training, where you're starting to work more on specific skills related to your sport. And I use the example of like hill training for runners. That, you know, the alcohol absolutely needs to be really, really, really cut down and reduced and all that kind of stuff. And definitely cut out. But phase 3, right, like before your event and all that kind of stuff, definitely we got to cut that out. We got to make sure you do not drink. that is the official thing. Is just like I tell people, I'm like, hey, I get it. You're in university. I think all this kind of stuff is great. Let's just do like 2 weeks before your big game or before your big whatever to be completely sober. And you know that is important because you got to meet again. You got to meet people where they're at. I don't want to ever give bad advice by being unrealistic and being like, Health Canada says this. Because the moment people hear that is the moment people start tuning out immediately. They're not going to listen to you anymore. Because you're not meeting them where they're at and you're just putting judgment on that kind of stuff, right? So keep that in mind. Anyways, I'm going to bring that up to a boil again. Where is that bowl? Okay, so I'm just going to use this bowl to put the garlic in because I'm going to use that later. And we're just going to make the sauce now. So, sauce. Okay. So I'm going to use some fish sauce. There's some garlic in here. We're putting in some fish sauce. Then we're going to use Gamjatang and soybean paste. I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of soybean paste. Right in there. And 2 tablespoons of gochujang. Love this stuff. Love gochujang. It's like the secret hack to making things taste good. So you can leave that in there. Then we're going to use, where is it? There it is. Gochugaru, which is basically like Korean red pepper powder. I'm just going to put enough in until it feels right. And because you can always add more, you can't take it away. Like, keep that in mind. Always, always, always. And then I'm going to put in a little bit of you can put a little bit of soy sauce in. And I will say, there is one ingredient that's supposed to go in here that I do not have. And again, this is not like an official recipe or anything like that, right? It's not a genuine, authentic Korean recipe, so keep that in mind. But it is perilla seeds. That is really, really tasty stuff that gets added into gamjatang all the time. But I don't have it because I didn't get to go grocery shopping today like I wanted to. Because I'm feeling sick and not very, very, very Gucci. So it is what it is. Now I'm mixing it up. You really don't have to be honest with you. And the reason why is because you're just going to plop it in there and it's just going to all boil and it's just going to mix together anyways, right? But I'm doing it because I want to show you all what it looks like. It looks delicious. Okay, so that's what it looks like. I'm going to take this in a little bit. We're going to throw it in there. And then we're also going to... Yeah, I think I'm going to use the rice cakes. That's what I think I'm going to use that. Yeah. All right, so alcohol. Not great. Officially, I'm not recommending it. That is the official thing that you should walk away with here. Do not have alcohol and expect your athleticness to increase. It will if you're young. That doesn't mean you're invincible. Please don't think that. It just means that your body, while you're young, works a lot differently than when you hit 38, which is where I'm at in life right now. That is boiling. That's exciting. So we're going to put in this in a little bit. Actually, we might as well just put this in now. One. I'm only putting 2 tablespoons of that in because you can always add more later. You can't take it away. What am I looking for now? I am looking for black peppercorn. Okay, I don't know where my peppercorn is, so we're just going to use pre-ground black pepper. Not a big fan, but hey, it is what it is. All right. Oh my God, that's feeling rough. Okay, so there's that. I also have a few king oyster mushrooms that I'm going to put in here. So I was using these the other day, and I do like mushrooms in my food. If you're a mushroom fan, let me know in the chat. If not, that's fine. More for me, more for my mushroom fan people. But I'm just going to put this directly in. More vegetables, the better. Those mushrooms are going to soak up a lot of flavor and be real tasty by the time that soup is done. Which should be roughly about an hour, maybe 45 minutes and all that kind of stuff, because I got something to do later on tonight. Let's have a quick taste, because it's only going to intensify. That's already really tasty. I'm very glad I didn't put the rest of that hot pepper stuff in. This has been way too spicy. It just went in way too spicy. This is good. It's got a nice kick to it. It's really, really tasty. And I'm going to put these, I am going to put these rice cakes in because I really like rice cakes. I really, really do. Yeah. So, that being said, going back to the alcohol thing. So, depending on what part of your training you're in, you might want to really, really change up your alcohol intake depending on that, right? The beginning part of your training for whatever sport you're in, it's not going to have the biggest impact, but it will have an impact on your ability to show up, be a good team sport player, and all that kind of stuff. So you want to take that into consideration depending on what sport you're in. During the second part of your training, where you're focusing more on like really, really big power, really all that kind of stuff, you really want to limit it, and you don't want to be able to have negative impact on that kind of stuff. The third part of your training, which is like basically competition prep, you don't want to be messing around with alcohol or anything of that matter, right? It's really going to negatively affect you, and it is no bueno, not good. Do not recommend, definitely avoid, get it out of here, that kind of thing. So always keep that in mind. We want to make sure that people are getting good information We're meeting them where they're at, and if you have to make those decisions, then I get it. This is what I counsel people for and all that kind of stuff. I don't tell them to drink alcohol. I just tell them, hey, these are the behaviors that are going to have the lowest level of impact on what you're trying to do. So always keep that in mind. Oh, God, this is rough. I am not feeling good today. I am sorry that I did this stream. I might not even get to finish cooking. So we'll see. I hope I do, but that's why I love this soup. If I were to be like, hey, I have to sit down right now to end the stream, I'm not feeling well, I can do that. I can just stay on the stovetop, continue boiling, and you know, it'll be good. So here's another thing that doesn't usually go into Gamjatang, but I'm putting it in because I have a lot of it, and I want to use it before it goes bad, and I want some extra nutrition in there, is green beans. So I'm just going to chop up these green beans, prep them up real quick, and then halfway through the cooking process, because the green stuff is always going to cook a lot faster than everything else, like root vegetables and all that, I'm going to make sure that we put it in so it doesn't get super, super soft. That it gets cooked, but not super, super soft. I don't want that. That's going to be rough to eat if it's super, super soft. So cutting this, putting it aside, and then we're going to put it in toward the end of the cooking process to kind of give it some zhuzh, some more nutrition, some more vitamins and minerals and nutrients for my body to heal better. But yeah. By the way, too, I hate being sick during the summer, especially with a cold, because it's so brutal. It's like, who gets a cold during the summer? I mean, I do. A lot of people do, but it's just, it's just a weird feeling. It's not good. It makes you feel weird. 100% it makes you feel weird. So, I don't love where I'm at right now, but thank you all for being here. We've got like 4 people right now watching, 3 people. Some people keep tuning in and out. That's all right. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this. I'm loving the fact that this stream is growing. I'm loving the fact that people are watching me cook, do things that I love to do. This is like the dream, right? So I'm hoping to get really, like, you know, a lot more viewers on this, and eventually at some point in the future. But for now, I mean, I'm just happy doing this. You know, it's always a good time cooking on stream. It's always a good time talking shit and rambling and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'm having fun. That's the most important thing. This doesn't feel like work yet, but it will feel like work at some point, but it doesn't feel like work. It feels like a lot of fun. I like doing this. I like the idea of being able to perform and cook and entertain and talk about nutrition and make it a lot more accessible to people that normally don't have access to nutrition, which is a lot of people, right? My services aren't cheap, and for a lot of people, I'd rather them go see these videos for free rather than having to sacrifice between paying me and getting a significant amount of groceries, right? So this is what I love doing. I'm loving the fact that I'm making nutrition a little bit more accessible and democratic to everyone. So I'm a big fan of that. I'm actually really, really fulfilled. This is the 10th episode. And, you know, I'm very proud of myself, by the way, because believe it or not, it took a long time to actually get comfortable with this concept of streaming, with the concept of just talking to a camera, and talking about nutrition, especially when no one's asking questions. It's a really, really tricky thing to do. You know, it's not easy, but it's a lot of fun. I'm doing it largely because I've wanted to fuse together a lot of the different things and talents and skills, not talents, skills that I've gained throughout the years, which include media, which include nutrition, which include cooking. In streaming is the best way of doing that. It's just a great way of allowing me to do this. So I'm glad you all are here. Thank you, Noah, for dropping into the stream. You're a real one. Love it. Heart. Anyways. Well, that's boiling down. That's reducing. That's doing the appropriate thing. Let's talk a little bit more about alcohol in sport and where it goes in your training plan and all that kind of stuff. So when you are training and you are... depends what you're... Oh, this is rough. I'm just going to grab a sports and nutrition textbook right now, just because I want to make sure that I cover everything appropriately. So give me 1 second, I'll be right back. This is Nancy Clark's Sports and Nutrition Guidebook. I really, really like it. Nancy Clark is one of the biggest names in sports and nutrition. She's awesome. Really, really good stuff. And, feeling... let me see here. Is there no alcohol section in this? I thought there was. I thought there was in this book. Okay, let me just see right now. Sorry, everyone. Alcohol. See, this is the oh, there we go. Alcoholic beverages. Caution use 6. Okay, 6. Okay, so here's the thing. I forgot to mention this. I'm glad I referenced this book. Alcohol is also a depressant. And like with mental health on the rise and all that kind of stuff, June is Men's Mental Health Month too. Alcohol is not good. It is a depressant. It can make your depressive symptoms worse and all that kind of stuff. So definitely don't do that. Don't do that. It's not great. But yeah. Hot tubs, alcohol, alright. Okay. Yeah. Gone over everything I needed to go over, so that's good. One thing I will say, yeah, June is Men's Mental Health Month. I think that's a very, very important thing to talk about because a lot of people don't talk about mental health specifically for men. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. And, I struggle with my own mental health kind of stuff. And, for the past few years, I was struggling with it because there was an event that happened. And it took me a while to find a therapist that I really, really like. And, we're doing great together. So really, what I found, what I was diagnosed with a few years back was ADHD. Now, when I was diagnosed with ADHD, I was like, all right, that makes sense. But then when I started to understand ADHD and I started to understand everything else, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Not only do I have this, but it's affecting the way I do things. It's affecting all that kind of stuff. It affects my relationship with alcohol, because one of the biggest things with ADHD is like substance abuse is very, very common, especially in men with ADHD. And the reason why is because you kind of... There's not a lot of good coping mechanisms when you're struggling with your ADHD. And for me, I was struggling with my ADHD for a long, long time. It just got diagnosed like 2 years ago. And ever since that, the medications have been a game changer. They've been really, really helpful and all that kind of stuff, right? But prior to that, I was abusing alcohol because of my ADHD. And the reason why was because I was getting depressed that I couldn't do normal, quote unquote, normal things, especially on time and all that kind of stuff. So, not healthy, not great, but I'm just being real with y'all. I would drink excessively, and that's not good. So when we're talking about alcohol and sports nutrition, it's just one of those things that go hand in hand and be like, hey, really check your alcohol intake. It could be making depressive symptoms worse. It could be making everything worse. It usually does make everything worse. Alcohol really doesn't make anything better, to be honest. Just if you need help, reach out to your local mental health community centers and all that kind of stuff. I know we have KMH here in Toronto. We have a lot of different kind of substance abuse kind of hotlines and all that kind of stuff in Toronto. Alcoholics Anonymous, everything like that. So really, really understand what your relationship with alcohol is. I did not have a good relationship with alcohol earlier on in my life. I have a much better relationship with alcohol now. I don't feel the need to abuse it, but that's one thing that's very, very common, especially amongst male athletes, because the male ADHD kind of diagnoses aren't too good, depending on which generation you belong to and all that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of a challenge. It definitely is a bit of a challenge. So we want to keep those things in mind, that alcohol abuse and substance abuse can be a symptom of ADHD and all that. It certainly was for me. So keeping it real with y'all. Awkward. All right. I just need to step off camera for a little bit. I just need to just sneeze and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, this is rough. I'm sorry, guys. Oh my god. This is rough because I'm like smelling the Gamjatang and how delicious it smells, and it's just so tasty, and I'm really hungry right now. So I'm probably gonna like throw in the rice cakes pretty soon, as well as the green beans, so I have a little bit more veg in there. But yeah, that's what we're basically doing right now. We're just waiting for the thing to cook. And well, I mean, it is cooking. It's just reducing. It's extracting a lot of the flavor, a lot of the collagen out of the out of the bones, in particular. And that's that's what the process is right now. It doesn't make for a great video. I was thinking that there'd be a lot more to talk about with alcohol and sports nutrition, but turns out there's not a lot to talk about because the challenges officially don't do it. Like, that's the official recommendation, right? But again, meeting people where they're at, and if you're a more casual athlete, all that kind of stuff, then it may be something that is important to you, maybe something that isn't. I know there are a lot of beer hockey leagues and all that kind of stuff where the idea is for a lot of people in particular to get together, have a fun game, and then have some beers afterwards as a way to socialize, right? Definitely don't want to get in the way of that. But if you are in one of those leagues, like a beer baseball league or a beer, beer hockey league or something like that, you need to know what it's going to do, what your levels of expectation for gameplay are, and how it's going to affect you the next day, right? I see a lot of men that are a part of these leagues, and they are... doing this as let me see what they do it like. A client of mine I'm thinking about right now, he has his beer league Wednesday nights, and it's a late night, and then Thursday morning he has to go to work and all that kind of stuff, so it's a little brutal for him. So we've been able to successfully bring down the amount of alcohol, talking about how to prevent hangovers, how to do all those kind of things, because I don't want him to quit the league. I would rather have him have a few beers Wednesday night because it's good for his social activity and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's really, really important that you actually understand what's important to these people, what they're getting out of it, and then also how to help them at the same time. If someone can reduce their alcohol intake by about 50%, they're going to be in a better place. And it's all about risk management, risk reduction, right? So it's making an impactful kind of thing rather than being unrealistic and being like, hey, just don't drink. If you just don't drink, you don't have that social life, you don't have all that kind of stuff. Not that you need to drink to have a social life, but in these leagues, it is a social construct, it is a social standard, and it's unfortunate how in our society peer pressure for alcohol and drinking is so widely socially accepted. Really shouldn't be, but yeah, this is the problem with a lot of people and alcohol. It's too common in our society and our culture. But either way, don't want to be lecturing, don't want to be doing that kind of stuff. Just want to be putting in my green beans to my Gamjatang right now. So just doing that, and then pretty soon. Actually, right now it's like been about 20-30 minutes already. So I'm gonna put in Korean rice cakes because I love rice cakes. I think they're delicious. I think they're so good. They absorb so much flavor. So I'm just going to put those directly in. A couple handfuls. We're just going to let that cook for a little bit more. Probably 10 more minutes. It'll be done. I'm going to plate it up. I'm going to eat it. And then I'm going to sign off and rest for the rest of the evening. So, yeah. That being said. Whew, I will tell you this. This is going to be my last stream where I'm a little sick. Because I do not like this feeling whatsoever. I've been working all day. I had a lot to do today. Well, not a lot to do today, but I went to go get my driver's license renewed in the morning, and that cost a little bit of time. And then spent the rest of the afternoon doing boring adult stuff like taxes and spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. So, that was fun. Sarcasm. It's just. So I'm a little mentally drained too, but here's the thing. I did not want to bail on the stream. I think that's very, very important. I just think what might happen next time is like if I am sick during the stream, I probably, depending on how sick, first and foremost, I thought I would be a lot better than I was. I'm not, and that's okay. Lesson learned for next time, right? What I will say is the next time I probably maybe not cook and stream at the same time, if that's a possibility, but who knows? Hopefully I won't get sick. That's the goal, right? Just don't get sick. Great advice. Just don't get sick. Oh, that's tasty. That is tasty. That's really, really good. Oh, man, that's so good. Okay. I love this, chat. I love that I've been able to really figure out Korean cooking over the past few months. Because Korean cuisine is one of my favorite cuisines. It also just happened to be released on, I think there was a UK study that Korean cuisine is the most economically viable food that you can cook. That, they did a study with, the breakdown of how expensive it is to cook certain cuisines and all that kind of stuff. Surprisingly, Korean cuisine is at the top of it. It's the most economically viable food to cook. And that's really, really great because there's a lot of good nutrition in there. There's a lot of good flavors. Oh my God, the flavors are so incredible. So that's why I've been doing a lot more Korean cooking because the economy is bad. obviously, and I just want to make recipes that, you know, might be a little bit more accessible to the general population as opposed to like filet mignon or lobster or something like that. I am working on a lobster video for Instagram, which is at the bottom of the screen over here. I think it is. No, over here. Yeah, that's the Instagram handle over here. So go give me a follow. Do all that kind of stuff. I am going to release a release schedule, a roadmap, if you will, very, very soon on there. I know I keep talking about it, I keep promising it, but here we are. It is what it is. So I'm going to get this giant bowl ready to plate. There's not a lot that needs to be done with plating, to be honest with you. You just need to scoop it up, put it in the bowl, and then eat, right? But oh man. Let me bring you over, because I don't think I've shown you it on the stove yet. That's it. That's it. That's one of the most delicious things ever. It's definitely a comfort food for me. It's awesome. So that's what we're cooking. Good times. Just gonna let that go for like 15 more minutes. And yeah, I'm just gonna go ramble on right now. You know. Oh my god. For those of you that think streaming is easy, it is not. Because one of the biggest things I heard from some very, very popular streamers is that it's not about can you do it, it's can you be interesting every 10 seconds? Because on stream, nobody wants to watch. For example, I was thinking of playing video games and all that kind of stuff on stream, and the reason why I don't want to do that is because I would chatter way too much. It would annoy the people I play with, and you know, and eventually after a while, I actually get too tired from talking, and I just want to zone out and chill and play the game. Plus, also, the reality is there's some things that hobbies that I want to keep just for myself, and video gaming is one of them. So if I introduce work into that and you know make it work with streaming, then it's not going to be fun for me anymore. It turns into another job, and that's you know, I would hate to do that to myself. So a long time ago, I decided ultimately, even though I could stream video games and me playing video games and all that kind of stuff, and I will occasionally, but I definitely don't want to do it the way other streamers are doing it, like Dado, Fallout, or Astacross and all that kind of stuff. Huge shout out and respect to those guys. I just couldn't do what they do because you just got to be on all the time. You got to be entertaining people all the time. You just got to be all that kind of stuff. In my streams, right now, currently, where they're at is like once a week, and they are roughly every, like, depending on what I'm cooking, usually about 1 to 2 hours long. That's not terrible. That's you know, I think that's really, really good. And hopefully sometime in the future we can add more. We're not going to take away. But, you know, I really got to get to that point because, you know, there's some interesting stuff happening in my life. And I definitely want to maintain the balance without throwing it off. Like when I was younger, I used to do everything at the extremes, and it cost me a lot. It cost me a lot, and I don't want to do that anymore, right? So I want to have a little bit more balance to this. Definitely want to add more days on at some point in the future, but not currently. Right now, I like the balance where I'm at. I'm doing really, really good and all that kind of stuff, you know? So happy with that. So we're going to give this about like 5 more minutes of cooking time, and then we're going to put it in the bowl. I'm going to eat it, and then I'm just going to go play video games and chill out. I signed up for... my clan has some games. I'm part of a clan. When I play... So Destiny 2 is my main game, and I am a part of this amazing clan called High Command Reborn, and there's such great admins and all that kind of stuff. There's great players in there and all that kind of stuff. We're going to try to do the 12-person Grandmaster Excision mission in like 30 minutes or so. And that's going to be chaotic. It's going to be absolutely chaotic. So don't know what... I'm probably going to bring my Warlock in, because I think that might be the most helpful for everything. But you know, who knows? Who knows? It'll be fun either way. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. It'll be good times. Oh my god. So yeah, I'm doing that in a little bit. And yeah, I will say earlier on in the stream I was talking to everyone about how, like, you know, my relationship with alcohol is very different now. And I'm at a different stage in my life, not wanting to party, not wanting to do all that kind of stuff anymore to the same degree I was previously. What's been really great is that lately I've been able to be honest with myself and with other people about my relationship with alcohol and what my expectations are with partying and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'll go out and I'll be like, hey, could we try to do things that aren't alcohol related? Could we do things where I am in bed by, you know, midnight and all that kind of stuff? And luckily a lot of people that are still in my life, really cool, chill people, they're very positive and they respond very well to that. The shitty people that were in my life, I got rid of them, and I feel so much better. Less mental health issues, less substance abuse, less all that kind of stuff, and more health, more fun, more everything. And you know, I distinctly remember having so much anxiety around my friend Becca's birthday, because I was doing a complete sober month and all that kind of stuff back in November. Shout out to Becca, she's a real one. I had a lot of anxiety because I hadn't really been out to a party kind of scenario and had people be like okay with my sobriety, right? If someone says but her and her boyfriend Thomas and her crew people and a lot of my mutual friends, I was just like, yeah, I'm not drinking tonight. I'll buy you drinks and all that kind of stuff. I'm good. I'm not having a beer. Man, it was awesome the way they were just like, yeah, that's cool, man. That's great. I'm glad you're here, and not pressuring it. In the past, people would be like, oh, come on, just have one, just do this. If you're that kind of person that peer pressures people into taking substances when they said no already, you're a terrible person. You gotta respect boundaries better. Don't make people come down to your level. Just be okay with it. Be cool. Not everyone needs to drink to have a good time. I certainly am at the point in my life where I'm having a great time without drinking. And not to be like, oh, I'm completely sober now and all that kind of stuff. I'm not completely abstaining. I just don't want to drink to the degree that I have in the past. It wasn't the best version of myself. And I like where I'm at now. And pretty soon I'm going to have to be putting in some pretty crazy training for the next race I'm going to sign up for pretty soon. But more on that later. But for now, I'm just liking my life the way it is right now. Quiet, beautiful, peaceful, full of love, all that kind of stuff. It's been a great time. We are approaching almost done time for this pork bone soup. So what I'm going to do is start bringing down the temperature I'm going to start cooling it down. We're going to start plating up, and then we're going to eat pretty soon. And then I'm going to go and get some rest. Because, not saying that the stream was a bad idea. I'm glad I got out here for the stream and all that kind of stuff. I'm always happy to see you all. And Noah, welcome to the stream. I'm glad you got a chance to drop on by and all that kind of stuff. I hope you're still watching. Big appreciation for your comment. Yeah, we're just gonna cut soon because I'm not feeling great, and I hope you all can see that. But yeah. Awesome. Now, again, this is not an official pork bone soup recipe. It is my recipe. And, so hopefully one day I'll go to Korea. I'll learn how to do this for real, or keep watching those Korean YouTubers make this, which is awesome. This is how I learn to cook a lot of different things now. It's such a great fan, which is why I'm doing these videos now, or doing these streams, because I just want people to have a different understanding of what Asian foods are, and foods in general, and how health is related to that and part of the culture, right? It's very, very important to have your culture expressed through your food choices. Not all the time, obviously, but it's a big thing for people. When we talk about culture, we really are looking at food more than anything else as the lowest common denominator of understanding everyone. So I think, honestly, food, and especially good food, is such a powerful tool to combat a lot of bigotry, a lot of hate in the world, and all that kind of stuff. So showing you all how it's cooked, what the ingredients go into it, all that kind of stuff, and it's a big pleasure of mine right now. I really love doing this, and I can't wait for next week. I'm looking forward to that very, very much. And so right now I'm going to turn off the heat. Actually, no, I'm going to leave it on a little bit. I'm just going to keep it there. But I am going to start plating up. So real quick with these bones. All right. All right. Look at that. Ta-da! I'm gonna give you my view in a little bit because it looks way different from over here. Yeah, look at that. That's my favorite comfort meal. It doesn't look like much, but it's got so much flavor in it. It's absolutely delicious. I'm gonna take a photo now for the gram. Because you gotta. And then I'm gonna eat this as it cools down. And then I'm gonna go on stream. I'm gonna get off stream, get some rest, play some video games, and do my thing. But thank you everyone for being here. Noah, thank you. Welcome to this new thing. Very glad you got a chance to stop by and check out the stream. I hope you come back. We'll be back next week with what theme? I don't know yet. I just don't know yet. Gotta create that roadmap. got to keep some things close to the chest for now, right? But thank you all for coming. I'm just going to take a little bit of a sip in front of you all right now and take some of these rice cakes and just eat one of the rice cakes and all that kind of stuff, because it's insanely hot. It's insanely hot. Okay. So rice cake with the soup. That's got, you know, not only is it just the pork bones, like the stuff that's coming off the pork bones, but also it's got chicken broth, like a full 500 mils of chicken broth in there, that I made over the weekend, which is really, really a lot of fun. So, oh damn, that's good. Yeah, rice cakes was the right call. I love rice cakes so much. Traditionally, this is served with rice. You just kind of dip the rice in, soak up all the flavor of it, eat the rice. Balances out the blandness with the rice. It gives you a lot of flavor, a lot of spiciness, a lot of umami, that kind of stuff, right? So, super happy with this. I would rate this probably an 8 out of 10. But, yeah. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I'm going to get off stream right now. I'm going to put on the outro music and all that kind of stuff. So thank you all for watching again. I've got to get going. I hope I feel better very, very soon. But, you know, that it is what it is. So we'll see. Either way, please like, please subscribe, do your thing. Thank you very, very much for coming. Sorry I wasn't at my absolute best today for the stream. That's just what happens sometimes. So thank you all for coming by. And that's it for the night. I am going to sign off now, and I will see you next week. Cheers.